everybody. Welcome back to Surface Noise. Today I'm going to follow up a previous 1960s albums video with a 1970s albums. Now this one is going to be significantly longer. I realized I have a lot more albums from the 70s and they're all amazing. So I just didn't really want to edit out a whole bunch of really great records, so this is just going to be a super long video. So be it. But yeah, lots of great stuff to get through. So sit down, enjoy, and we'll start right now. Okay, so first, this will be basically year to year kind of thing. So this isn't in order of good or bad. This is like we start 1970-ish and then go right through the decade. So to start with, it's actually a jazz record. This is Bitches Brew, Miles Davis, 1970. Now with this one, I didn't have any Miles Davis at the time, but I really wanted to start, and I wanted to start with this album. And I wanted to just get the music. I wasn't too concerned as long as the record played well, which these do. These are, this is a good, we got decent looking pressing. It plays really nice. The cover is basically trashed, but I didn't pay much for it. I'd like to get a better copy of it down the road, but this is where I started my Miles Davis collection. This is an amazing set of music. There's only 6 tracks, but the first record, both of them are almost 30 minutes long, so it's amazing. Artwork is cool too, very amazing. So that's the first one, Miles Davis. Yeah, very important record as far as I'm concerned. So we'll start there. Number 1. Next up, I should have moved the records closer. Next up is Black Sabbath debut record. This is a new pressing. I think this is either 2018 or 2020, maybe even. You got that. Nice. This is just a classic record. I don't have a lot of Black Sabbath. I think I only have 3 or 4. But there we have that. And this features such tracks as The Wizard, NIB, and Wasp, Black Sabbath. I really like the guitar playing on this record. I noticed it, I think, even more than other records of theirs. At least the first few, the ones I have. It really stands out on this record. So, next up, The Doors, Morrison Hotel. Just gave this another listen recently, and really amazing. I knew I liked it, but going through it, it's as good as anything they did. 90% of their records are just brilliant. I love the song The Spy. I mean, this obviously has hits like Waiting for the Sun, Roadhouse Blues, those songs. And but I mean everything. I mean Chippewa, Blue Sunday, Peace Frog, everything on here is just brilliant, and it's amazing and must have in the collection. Next up is, might be surprising, but Carpenters. Yeah, this is actually a great record. If you like melody, if you like pop music, this is about as good as it gets. I mean, a lot of these are covers, but they're great. The covers are great, and the originals are great. It's just amazing pop music, great melodies all around. So, yeah, awesome. Not really fitting in with maybe the rock and roll side of what I'm showing you, but still, I'm just when I gave it a spin recently, I was like really impressed with it. So, next up is John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band. This is probably, I think it's his most intense record. Not that he had a ton of solo records, but I have the Capital blue or purple label. But songs like Love, God, Mother, you know, and my personal favorite on here is Working Class Hero. That's a great, great song. But it's, yeah, this was a wonderful record. And very important part of my collection. Next up, the boys, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. This is Déjà Vu. This is not a bad copy. I don't even know if, I think I got this for a couple bucks, or maybe it was something I inherited from people, I'm not sure. Atlantic Records. Whoa. And it has Teach Your Children, Woodstock, Helpless, Déjà Vu, and yeah. So it's got some of the classics of the era. So that was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Next up, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. Yeah, this was the first one. I think this is the first one I ever had. Of course, everyone knows Paranoid and War Pigs and Iron Man, of course. So, but the whole thing is phenomenal. This is a Vinyl Me Please pressing, actually. So it's a nice purple variant. Great sounding, too. Very, very nice. And this gets a lot of spins. I mean, how can you not love this? One's just amazing. Going back to some Young, Neil Young. This is After the Gold Rush. And this one, Southern Man's on here. Oh, Lonesome Me. Hold on, it's hard to see the back cover. If you look at the back cover, it's hard to read the titles. But if you look at this, a little bit easier. Oh, Lonesome Me, yes. Don't Let It Bring You Down. Classic record. After the Gold Rush, Only Love Can Break Your Heart, Southern Man. You know, these are all big songs in his repertoire. And this is one of, I think most of his 70s records are absolute gems. So you can't go wrong there. Next up, we have Van Morrison, Moondance, which features Moondance. And it's Into the Mystic is on here as well. Again, this is another classic. He's another artist who went through a very good stretch from the start, I think, right to the mid-70s or late 70s. You know, very young guy there. And yeah, this is a pretty decent copy. Plays well. Let's see that there. I have a couple Van Morrisons. I'm sure it'll come up throughout the video, probably. All right, moving on. Since this is a long list, this is The Who, live at Leeds. It's one of my favorite Who records, actually. One of my favorite live records, actually. Substitute, My Generation. It's like a 14-minute version of My Generation, and it's amazing. Magic Bus is on here, shaking all over. As you can see, someone else owned this previously. It's got a it's not a signed copy. That's someone just who was claiming their copy. Unless it's Bill Day was in the band. I don't think so. MCA Records. I've had this for ages too. I think I've had this for 20 years or so, and I know I used to play that. Even back when I wasn't playing my records as much because I was playing more CDs, I was still pulling this one out and giving it a spin. It's just that damn good. Next up, Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Waters. And it's funny, you look at the track list on this, you think it's the greatest hits. Bridge Over Troubled Waters, Cecilia, The Boxer, The Only Living Boy in New York. it's just, yeah, it's got so many big songs that you're kind of, it's a little surprising that it isn't the best of. But no, it's just Bridge Over Troubled Water, and it's just a brilliant record. Then we have James Taylor, Sweet Baby Jane. And this, of course, has Fire and Rain. It's a great record overall, though. So you can see that. I have 2 copies of this one, I think. It's pretty heavy. There we go. Yeah, no, this is a great singer-songwriter album, and definitely, I guess it's his most famous record. Oh, see if I can put this away. There we go, success. Awesome. Next up, The Who, again. Who's next? Another amazing record from The Who. Bob O'Reilly. Won't Get Fooled Again, Behind Blue Eyes, all on one record. That's pretty amazing. Nice MCA label. Great cover, great songs, great album. Next up, and more singer-songwriter stuff. This is Carole King, Tapestry. There's a nice copy actually. It's very, I like the album cover, the sleeve. It's quite got a nice touch to it. And there you are. On DDE Records? Really? Ode Records. Thought it was a D. And it has some great classic songs. You've Got a Friend. You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman. Yes. All right. Moving on. Grab another pile. This is big. Soundtrack to Shaft, Isaac Hayes. If this isn't classic, I don't know what is. Double album, just great. It's got more than just the soundtrack, obviously, or just the theme song. But this is, he did just great music back then. It was amazing. Great stuff. There you are. Next up, back again, The Doors, LA Woman. Another amazing album from these guys. Love Her Madly, LA Woman. The big hits off this, Riders on the Storm, and it finishes out the record. Another longer epic track to finish up the record like they often like to do. Next up, another one. Led Zeppelin, sometimes called Led Zeppelin 4. This is their 4th record with Stairway to Heaven on it. Got some like that. Recently, in the last year or two, I've been trying to get more Led Zeppelin records, so slowly. Everything on here is a hit, I think, isn't it? Pretty much. Misty Mountain Hop, Going to California When the Levee Breaks. That's just side 2. Black Dog, Rock and Roll, Battle of Evermore. It's the whole thing. Every song is great on there. It's one of the perfect records. There you go. And nowhere does it say Led Zeppelin except for, does it say on the side? No, nowhere. You just have to guess. Up next, Rod Stewart. Every Picture Has a Story. And this features the song Maggie May. He was pretty much, 70s, he was pretty much the king. I mean, he was one of the bigger names. Even going into the early 80s, but definitely, definitely was massive. Late 60s and all through the 70s. So. Next up, Canadian legend, poet, singer-songwriter, Leonard Cohen. Songs of Love and Hate. And this has Famous Blue Raincoat on it. It has Joan of Arc. And Avalanche is actually one of my favorite songs on here. Also Sing Another Song, Boys is good. That one's, I remember he did I have a live DVD, I think, of his, or live CD of his, where they do sing another songbox, and it fits perfectly in a live setting for sure. This is Steely Dan, Can't Buy a Thrill. This features Reeling in the Years. I wasn't really that familiar with Steely Dan up until, well, I didn't think I was up until the last 3 or 4 years, and then I actually got a few of their records, gave them a spin, and realized I pretty much know every song. So yeah, this is happy. I'm happy to have this, and playing it, I realized just how familiar with it I was. I just didn't know. Awesome musicians, awesome songwriters. Next up, another great singer-songwriter, Randy Newman, Sail Away. This is a very good record. I haven't played it a ton. I plan to rectify that, but I do like it a lot. It's there. Next up, more Neil. Neil Young, Harvest. This is a very questionable copy of this record. The sleeve is not in great shape. Record plays well though. Old Man, The Needle and the Damage Done. Harvest, A Man Needs a Maid, Heart of Gold. Yeah, it's classic 70's material. Hey, I put that wrong one. You didn't see that. Okay, next up, Lou Reed. This is one of the more famous Lou Reed records, aside from Velvet Underground, I guess. This has Perfect Day, it has Satellite of Love, and of course, it has Walk on the Wild Side. So, yeah, amazing classic record. They must listen, they must have, I think. Moving on. I'm gonna get the rest of these over here, and we're gonna talk some more. Now we got some Bowie. Bowie. Aladdin, Sane, Cracked Actor, Let's Spend the Night Together, a cover of the Stones. Jean Genie. Probably Jean Genie's the biggest single off this record. Hard to come by, reasonably priced Bowie records anymore, so I was happy to get this, to be honest. I don't have a lot of Bowie because now it's hard to get. It's on RCA. It's for a decent price. It's just super pricey stuff, no matter where you go. So it's the same with a lot of stuff. The Beatles, Zeppelin, anything. If you're trying to start now with these collections of classic artists, it's very, very difficult. Another one I got here is Genesis, Selling England by the Pound. Again, this was not, I kind of grew up with the Genesis of the, early 80s, after Peter Gabriel left, so I really went back to rediscover them with Peter Gabriel, and yeah, it's some amazing material, and this is one of them that's just awesome. Phil Collins, Michael Rutherford, Steve Hackett, Tony Banks, and Peter Gabriel, so that's quite the lineup from 1973. But yeah, this is a great record. Must-have type stuff. Next up, Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And this has a whole bunch of hit songs. Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding, Candle in the Wind, Benny and the Jets, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. We got Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. This is a nice, you can see this actually folds right out. I have 2 of these, I think, 2 copies. I think this is the better copy though. But yeah, they really did a job on the packaging on that back then. Lots of nice artwork. All right, so next up, I don't know what I can really say that hasn't been said about this record, but Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. Everything they did in the 70's, I think, is classic, and some of the 60's as well, but yeah, this is one of the most well-known records of all time. I'm sure you've seen it. Not really. Of course, it has the song Money, but it has the whole thing. Um, Again, another band that were at the height of their powers, I think, in the 70s. Yeah, I mean, I think Money was technically the only single, I think, but I mean, the whole thing, Breathe, Time, Us and Them, Brain Damage, everything on here is, and it fits all so well together, right? So, okay, next up, I'm going to pull this out before I even, this is Eno. Here Come the Warm Jets. Great. This has a very, I mean, it reminds me of Bowie, to be honest. This album has a similar sound to a lot of the stuff he was doing then, but I guess they worked together too, so that's not surprising. Yeah, anything to do with Brian Eno is one of my favorite artists and most interesting people, I think, to ever live. I'm always ecstatic listening and getting more Brian Eno. This is Roxy Music. This is Country Life, but this is a copy without the girls on it. So at least I won't get any flags from YouTube for that one. Thrill of It All is this. Well, I think the main single on here, but the whole thing is a very, very good record. Yeah, we got the lyric sheet inside. And it tells you that it's the 4th Roxy Music album, in case you weren't sure. This is, yeah, I think every Roxy Music record is pretty much great, though, so not too difficult. Okay, this is Tangerine Dream. I think it's pronounced Phaedra. This is, of course, instrumental music. I think Tangerine Dream are German. Yeah, I have a few Tangerine Dream records. I actually got introduced to these guys when my first job out of high school. I worked with a guy, and all he listened to was Tangerine Dream and Tangerine Dream solo albums. So, and I had never heard of Tangerine Dream at the time. So I got to hear some of it, and I got to see his collection, and at the time it was pretty good. If he still collects records, I can only imagine what his collection looks like now, because that was like 1985. So next up, Supertramp, Crime of the Century, featuring Bloody Well Right and Dreamer. This is another band who did amazing work in the 70s. At this point, I'd almost call them underrated, because I don't know if they get as much attention as they used to. When speaking of the classic records, classic bands, these guys were right there. They were megastars back then, but I'm not sure if they're getting the credit they deserve nowadays. Next up, more Bowie, Young Americans. This has John Lennon on it too. I think he sings on Young Americans, if I recall. He sings on Cross the Universe and Fame. It's a pretty good version of Across the Universe. I liked it. This is a decent record. This is probably the one I've had the longest, I think. But yeah, Fame's a great song. Young Americans is a great song, and the Cross the Universe cover is amazing too. That is pretty cool that John Lennon played on it with him. So. And I don't know if there's such a thing as a bad Bowie record anyway. So that's that. Next up, we have the boss, Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run. Great record. Again, he's another artist who a few years ago decided to start picking up vinyl by. I had only been vaguely familiar, but I've always loved Nebraska, but I was more vaguely familiar with all of his stuff, the deep cuts and all that. So now I have a little bit better of a collection. Still working on it though. This is Thunder Road, Born to Run. The whole thing's great, but those are two of the ones that stand out on first glance as absolute stunners and really, really well-known songs. Where are we at? We're getting close to halfway Yes, I told you this would be a while. More Pink Floyd. Here we go. We've got Wish You Were Here. You know, I almost at this point think I'm going to say that every Pink Floyd album from the 70s is one of my favorites, because I can't think of one that I don't like from that era. Here we go, nice little label on it. Features such tracks as Have a Cigar, Shine on You Crazy Diamond, and Welcome to the Machine, that's all side one. And Shine on You Crazy Diamond, Wish You Were Here. Well, side one and two, all Shine on You Crazy Diamond, but Wish You Were Here, of course. It's another one of those long, epic, slow building tracks that they do. And yeah, again, this is a great album with super cool artwork as a cover. Like, that's really amazing. Even the back is like something. Okay, so to finish off the first half of this is Queen. A Day at the Races. This is A Day at the Races. A Night at the Opera. I knew I'd get that wrong. A Night at the Opera. So this is another Vinyl Me Please pressing. This is pretty nice, really. It's feels good in the hands, you know. It feels good. Actually, yeah, you can see on the back you got the little label there. Vinyl Me Please. And then we've got our concert type footage. There's a lot of this on the 70s. They would put these pictures out a lot. It's pretty amazing. So, and this comes on kind of a purple variant right here. And it's an amazing record. And it seems to feature everyone writing songs, so that's a pretty cool thing. I'm in Love with My Car, I think I can't remember. Was that the drummer? I think Roger Taylor might have written that one. I'm in Love with My Car. Yeah, Roger Taylor wrote that one. That was pretty wild. You're My Best Friend, one of the bigger songs on here. Of course, Bohemian Rhapsody, pretty obvious. But this is, the whole thing is good and well written, and it has a whole bunch of, again, everyone contributes. You're My Best Friend was actually written by John Deacon, so like, you know, it's a real collaboration. So there we go. That's that. So what we have now that's the first half. So we're gonna take a break. You can grab some popcorn, do whatever. We'll be back in 30 seconds or so, and we'll go on to part 2.
We'll now take a break for a brief intermission.
Hello again. Welcome back to part 2 of this video. Let's get settled in here. Okay, so now we're getting into the second half. Like I said, this is very long, so let's get going. All right, next up we have Willie Nelson, Red-Headed Stranger. Amazing record. Amazing. I'm gonna pull this up here. Kind of, I guess, a bit of a concept record. It's got a storyboard on the back there. That's pretty crazy. I actually first heard this in the car with my mom. She was a big country music fan, and she would play this cassette sometimes. And, you know, I knew Willie Nelson, but when we actually got to hear the whole thing, this became my favorite Willie Nelson record. And it's great. Actually, I didn't even think to look at just to mention some of the tracks on here, such as, well, Red-Headed Stranger is in itself is a great song. You know, the whole record is phenomenal anyway. Time of the Preacher, was very good. Is a very good track. Redheaded Strangers, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. Yeah. So I mean, it's great as a complete piece of work, but it has some good individual songs that I believe, you know, like obviously, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain was one of his bigger singles, bigger hit songs over the years. So there's that. Okay. Next up, some more Bowie. Station to Station, which is amongst my favorite Bowie records. This is probably the first one I ever purchased, I think. 5 tracks, no, 6 tracks. All phenomenal. Got a nice inner sleeve, like that. I remember listening to this in 1986, I think, so it's been a while. I've had this. Golden Years, Word on a Wing, Wild as the Wind. Yeah, I mean, TVC-15, everything on here is great. Carlos Alomar playing guitar on this one, a number of different performers. Yeah, this is one of my favorites of his. Probably the favorite of the ones I own, which is only a couple, but you know. So that's Station to Station. Next up is probably one of what I would call one of the perfect albums of all time as far as rock music goes. This is Boston. This is their debut. Note for note, it's pretty much flawless, which I think was the idea. You know, I'm sure he spent the main guy behind, I think Tom Schultz, or is it Red? I'm not sure who the main guy was, but I know that he very precise in how he made this record, even with every piece of it. That's why the production sounds so great and the songs are so great. Everything is I think a lot of time and work was put into this to make sure that it sounded that way. So it's just one of those that you can just put on and it's just a perfect, almost like a perfect party record, I guess. But I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's only seven or 8 songs, but I mean, yeah, it's very well done. Every song sounds like a hit, and I'm sure that's on purpose. So next up, another one of those weird pop albums that I'm including. This is ABBA. They're Swedish, so that's okay. Oops, what the heck is that? So that's Arrival, and another band that had a lot of hit songs, really. This has Knowing Me, Knowing You, Dancing Queen, one of their bigger ones, Money, 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 When I Kissed the Teacher. I think this wasn't the one. But yeah, I got to hear this a lot when I was about 10, I think. And I would spend time with my cousins. They liked ABBA a lot. We used to play ABBA and the Beatles, other things. So yeah, and I have a few. I have 3 or 4 ABBA albums. I think they make some great pop music. Next up, my T-shirt's namesake, one of my top bands of all time, and this is the album that made me a massive fan. This is 2112 by Rush. I was a fan of the band in general, but I got a chance to go see them with some friends, and at the particular concert, which was on the Test for Echo tour, they did side 1 of 2112 in its entirety, and I'd never heard 2112. I'd only heard the occasional singles here and there. So yeah, that concert and this album took me from a casual fan to a diehard Rush fan. And yeah, I went out and picked up as much vinyl as I could, and I continue to do that to this day. If you're not familiar with this album, I mean, side 1 is the 2112 piece, all the songs. Temples of Syrinx, Overture, everything. Side 2, Passage to Bangkok, is a good tune. There's more individual songs in side 2. Something for Nothing is another good track on here. But yeah, it's kind of like a concept record. At least side 1 of it is, for sure. But it's Rush. It's awesome. Enough said. Next up, Aerosmith rocks. Back in the Saddle. Back in the Saddle. This is a great record. This is unfortunately the only Aerosmith record I have, but it's phenomenal, and it does inspire me to buy more. So that's Aerosmith. Going another direction here, we're going with this. Jean-Michel Jarre. I'm not sure if that's pronounced right, but Oxygene. Instrumental electronic type music from the 70s. This is awesome. I think this is a, there we go. This looks like a, I think this feels like a British copy, UK. Doesn't really say on this, but just the way the record and the sleeve is, I think that maybe UK. But this is an awesome record, classic. Very interesting. You know, you got a lot more of that in the mid to late 70s. That electronic music. Next up, Stevie Wonder. Songs in the Key of Life. And this, if I recall, yeah, this even comes with the 45, which is something extra. Yeah, so that's cool. A lot of times you don't get that. If you buy used records, you don't always get everything. We got the booklet too, right here. I should slip that inside. But yeah, we got some lyrics in here. This is, I'm not actually super familiar with Stevie Wonder, but I do want to be more familiar with him, and this is, you know, a bit of the start. Sir Duke is phenomenal. I didn't even know what the song was called. I was very familiar with the song, but I didn't know that it was called Sir Duke. So ever since I picked this one up, I realized how amazing it is and how many songs I actually know. Isn't She Lovely? This pretty severe famous song. Yeah, and this is just awesome, and I need more Stevie Wonder. That's just the way it is. Next up, Clash, Debut. This is my favorite Clash record. Other ones are good too, but I don't know. J.D. Jones, I'm So Bored with the USA, Complete Control, White Man and Hammersmith Palais, Police and Thieves, everything on this. This is, I Fought the Law, London's Burn, everything. This is amazing. Amazing record. So glad I have it. And yes, for sure my favorite. I still would like to have more Clash records, but this one is number one in my book. Next up, we're going back to Steely Dan, Aja. Just great, top to bottom. Yeah, I've got a few of these records of Steely Dan, and again, I never realized, every time I play one of them, I find out that the whole thing is songs I know. It's pretty amazing, really, how many amazing songs that they came up with. That even when I look at the song titles, I don't know the song titles necessarily, but then I hear the whole record, I'm like, I know every song on here. All right, this one of the ultimate classics of all time. Rumours, Fleetwood Mac. Again, this is similar to like Dark Side of the Moon. It's like, what am I going to really say about Rumours, right? It's everyone knows this record, I think. Whether it's the obvious singles or the deeper cuts. Dreams is on here, of course. Don't Stop, Go Your Own Way, Songbird, The Chain, Gold Dust Woman, all that stuff. I mean, it's another one of the perfect records of all time. So great cover too. I love a lot of the 70s covers were just phenomenal, So next up we have some Elvis Costello. So we're getting to the later part of the 70s now, a little more not quite to the new wave stage, but sort of the precursor to it. So yeah, this is Elvis Costello. We have Allison on here and Watching the Detectives. So two of his great songs. And yeah, it's a great record. Elvis Costello, I've got, I think, 3 records by him in there. Not a bad one in the bunch. There's another one. Not as familiar with this, but it is a good record. I've certainly listened to it. This is Ian Dury and the Blockheads. Matching Boot and Panties? New Boot and Panties, sorry. But it's great too. This is pretty awesome. One of the great records of the 70s. And there we go. Next up, Blondie, Parallel Lines. Now this is sort of getting to the stage where I was in my early teens when you get into Blondie and these songs. I remember a lot of the singles off of this. Of course, we've got Heart of Glass on here, which was one of the earlier songs that I knew by them. In that era, that late 70s to early 80s era of singles, of all of the singles that came out, they were amazing. I mean, not just Blondie, but everything. I remember, I think 79 was a year when I was just really influenced by all those records that came out and all the singles. I was buying a lot of 45s at the time. I was a probably 12-year-old, I think. So it's also hanging on the telephone one way or another. Sunday Girl. So it's I think half the record are singles. So it's amazing, awesome. Now we got some more Bruce. This is Darkness on the Edge of Town. This is another great record. I think I got gifted this, to be honest. I don't think it was one that I went out and purchased, but I like it a lot. Yeah, Promised Land, Darkness on the Edge of Town, Badlands. It's just a phenomenal record. Great to have it in the collection of Bruce records. I'll do this here. Next, we got our first entrance by Talking Heads. This is more songs about buildings and food. This is cool. Thank You for Sending Me an Angel being one track here. This has Take Me to the River. That was one of their big singles, I think. But this is a great album, good starting point if you're interested in Talking Heads. I have 3 or 4 of their records, and they're all really, really good. Another classic, Van Halen, their debut. And this is another one of those where basically it's almost perfect from top to bottom. You got David Lee Roth on the back there. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, you start with, actually it's interesting because the track listing is completely not there when you look at the list. They just randomly put the songs here, but I mean, it starts with Running with the Devil, and then it's got all sorts of, it's got a cover of You Really Got Me, which was amazing. Jamie's Crying, Ice Cream Man, Feel Your Love Tonight, everything. Awesome. Perfect. Next up, Cars. There we go. Their first album. Another one of the great debuts of all time, to be honest. Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, Just What I Needed, Moving in Stereo, You're All I Got Tonight, Bye Bye Love. I mean, how many singles did they had an amazing amount of singles off this record. And I mean, I think their whole career they had great songs, great hits, you know, all through every record they did seem to have at least a few. Next up we got Devo. This is Are We Not Men? We Are Devo. This is another great record. I like all the Devo records, actually. Pull this out. It doesn't really have track listing on the back of the thing, but you do have side 1 has I Can't Get No Satisfaction and Mongoloid, Choco Homo. Those are some of the better tracks on here for sure. The whole thing's good though. And that's that. A very, very phenomenal record by Devo. As we continue, another Willie Nelson record. This is Stardust. I do believe that this is a lot of cover songs. But it is where it is Georgia on My Mind. That's a great cover. Unchained Melodies on here, September Song. Yeah, most from what I know, this is all cover songs, but it's done really well. you know, he kind of makes these songs his own, so it's a good thing. Next up, one of my favorite artists. This is Eno, Brian Eno. Is this just under Eno? Brian Eno. This is under his full name, Brian Eno. Ambient One, music for airports. If you like ambient music, if you like that kind of very relaxed, simplistic, I guess you call it, very basic sounds, very relaxing music. This is what he did. Quite a few records like this style. I mean, after he got past the the sort of rock era that he was doing before, this is he got into this kind of style later on. For the most part, I think he may have done some more. Of course, later on, he also got into production, producing other artists and stuff. But there's another classic, B-52s. Yeah, their first album, full of hits. You got Planet Claire, Dances Mess Around, Rock Lobster. You know, they do a version of Downtown. It's pretty wild. And yeah, I liked all the records they did, actually. I have a few of these, but this is their debut. Now we got Police. This is Regatta de Blanc. Yeah, Regatta de Blanc. This one has Message in a Bottle in it. Walking on the Moon. Probably my favorite Police song is Walking on the Moon, actually. But this is a great. It's also got the Bed's Too Big Without You, which I see referenced by a few people at different times. So there we go. A great. I have almost all the Police records too. I think I need one. I think I just need their first one, and then I'm finished. Another one, Talking Heads, Fear of Music. This has a nice. The cover's cool. Yeah, and here we go. This is produced with Brian Eno, actually. So, you know, as I mentioned about him doing production, here we go. We're right into it. So this is you got your liner notes, inner sleeve. Life During Wartime came off of this record, so that's one. Heaven's another one of the ones. Memories Can't Wait. There's some great tracks on here. They were quite prolific in that time, late 70s, early 80s. They had a ton of great records, and it's awesome. We're heading into an even different era section here. We got Joy Division. This is Unknown Pleasures, their first album. They only put out 2 technically. I mean, there was a bunch of collections, I think, that came later. But here we got the classic sort of logo, not logo, but the artwork that seems to show up on all the t-shirts. It says Disorder, New Dawn Fades, She's Lost Control, Shadow Play. I mean, it's good from top to bottom. If you like Joy Division, you'll certainly like this album, I think. This, and a lot, they did have a lot of singles that didn't show up on the record, so that you know, if you wanted to hear all those songs, you probably need to pick up one of those greatest hits type things, but the records, the full-length ones are great. This is Neil Young, Rust Never Sleeps, one of my favorite Neil Young records. My, Hey Hey Out of the Blue, Pocahontas is on here, Powderfinger, and then Hey Hey My Into the Black. A great piece of work. I have this on CD as well, so I can listen to it if I'm driving. Great one. Here we go again. Now we got Cheap Trick at Budokan, another great live record. You can see Mr. Rick Nielsen with his fancy guitar in the back. This has Surrender on it, which I think was sampled by the Beastie Boys on their Check Your Head record. There we go. There's that. And yeah, this is a great record. And I remember listening to them quite a bit. Ain't That a Shame is on here too. I Want You to Want Me. I remember Cheap Trick in a big way when I was young. They were amazing. Next up we have Fleetwood Mac, Tusk, which I guess was the follow-up to Rumours. This has The Ledge. It's a double album. It's quite a bit of music on it. It's a good record. It's just I think it get overshadowed because, you know, it followed up Rumours. And how can you do much with that, right? And this is the end, as they say. Pleasure Principle, Gary Newman. This was great. I remember the song Cars was everywhere in 1979. Even going into 1980, I think. This kind of transcends into the early 80s, but this is a great record. Believe he'd been with Tubular Army before that. And from what I've heard, it's fairly similar in style. But it's a great record. This is a good... Gary Newman's kind of an underrated artist, I think, because most people only know the song Cars. They might know a few others because there are some other tracks. Our Friends Electric, I think, is another one. There's a few others, not on here, but on other records. But maybe not as much as he should, not as much attention as he should have gotten for the talent he has, So that's all. That's the whole thing. That's a fairly long video, but that's my 1970s albums. And I hope you enjoyed it, if you stuck around to the end. If you did, congrats. That's a long haul. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. If you did, I can usually get out at least a video a week. And if you want to like and subscribe, I would certainly appreciate that. And hope everyone watching has a great day, and I'll see you all next time.